I'm Adrian Park. With me today, the Operations Systems Whisperer, Jay Carter.
I'll take it.
Okay, so there is this I'm going to call, I guess it's a trend going around on TikTok in particular, but I'm sure it's everywhere else too. And it's like on the Reels platforms. So it's probably on Instagram Reels and Facebook Reels and YouTube Shorts too. And it's this like math trend. And and so if you'll let me share my screen, Jay, I'm going to share some of these things. Let's see. Okay, yeah, there it is. Okay. So can we see that? Can we see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is TikTok, and this account. Okay, and just stay with me. Okay, so I'm not trying to be offensive here, but the account is called Homath. Yes, Homath, as in, he or she is a
I
hoe.
get it.
Okay, so so I'm going to play a couple clips, and as crazy as this sounds, it actually ties into what we're talking about today. And here is the first one.
Oh, you're gonna have to turn it on with your sound. So when you share it with your sound, so go back to stop sharing for a sec.
All right.
All right. And what you're gonna do, all right, is when you go to click share, it'll say in the bottom left, share sound. Yeah.
Giddy up. Okay.
There you go.
Let's try that again. Let's try it again. All right. Thanks, Jay, for the assist. Let me go back. Hold on. All right.
Do women care about height?
There we go.
Yeah. Is it working?
Yeah, it's working.
Got it? Okay, here we go.
Can you change that? Kind of. This guy calls it the European method.
I changed my height on Tinder from 5'9.5" to 177 centimeters. And now I keep on matching with girls whose bios say like 6 feet plus.
Why does this work?
These hoes are stupid.
I don't know if I would say that.
Yeah, I don't know if I did that.
Okay, here's another one.
The last 3 dudes I've dated for their bank account info on the first.
That kind of sucks. Then we get this. I don't judge people's actions. I look at the intention behind it. So why do you ask for that? And she says she only wants to date a wealthy guy. And then he says, valid. And that is valid, but that doesn't mean it's good.
Okay. All right. Here's another one.
I don't know about wifey material.
Wifey material doesn't define what you're wearing. It's the type of person that you are.
This is one of the dumbest conversations taking place in the Western world. This girl says that what you wear doesn't define whether you're wifey material. So to break that down using the integral map, what she's saying is that my choices
he is built. Look, he created this whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just
Hilarious.
don't define me. How I feel about myself defines me. And that is not correct. All of these things.
That's good.
And that is not correct. All right, one more.
No one has asked me to go to a pumpkin patch. No one has asked me to go see.
Okay, girls who cry about being alone on the internet want to meet you versus want to suck you dry of all your life energy. Allow me to demonstrate. Hello, Abby. A great video you've made, very stimulating. I also am alone during a time of the year. I would like to formally invite you to go do screamy pumpkin shit. That's I've drawn you a pumpkin and a scary ghost. That's me. I'm under there. I live in a very pumpkin-y zone. There is a cidery down the street. My car has heated seats, and I am prepared to defend you from any aspect of your imagination if you accept my invitation. She's not gonna. I noticed that you didn't specify what kind of person you were looking to fill the screaming at vegetables role, so I just thought I'd give you an opportunity to demonstrate exactly how lonely you are. I noticed that you didn't respond to any of these guys, so I just thought maybe you need someone.
This guy is awesome. So
Yeah, that is very good.
Okay, so he's got so his account is like 330,000 followers now, and they all have, you can see he's got 7 million likes, so he's getting a ton of, a lot of people watching and engaging. It's like a thing now, Homath. So now there's like I've seen boy math. I've seen girl math. I've seen CEO math. I mean, there's literally now everybody's got math. So I did contractor math. So, and actually I'll read it to you. So I did some contractor math. All right. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Contractor math is increasing your markup on jobs instead of cutting expenses. Number one. Contractor math number two. And by the way, this has nothing to do with, this is not from my previous experience, or, this is not anyone I used to work with or know. It's just, my observations over the last several years. Buying a $90,000 truck for yourself as the owner for marketing to promote a strong company image, but struggling to make payroll every goddamned week or every other week. Buying a 6,000 square foot house, writing checks from the company's operating account, and then borrowing for the business at 40% interest. Not having cash for payroll, but taking your family to Florida for a week and spending 15 grand cold hard cash. Buying 20-year-old trucks with 200,000 miles for like $15K, and then paying thousands of dollars in maintenance, right? Instead of just buying 1 to 2 newer trucks and financing them, but because you can't finance because you don't have good credit. Cashing out a customer payment at the teller window, also known as tax evasion, to make a down payment on your dream home in Florida, because there's never going to be a deal like this again, and it's your wife's dream house. Having your wife on payroll when she doesn't actually work in the business because your accountant told you to. Pulling men from a job to do your honey-do list at home. And finally, number 9, bidding a job that is, you have no right bidding, like way outside of the trade, because saying no is bad customer service. And then, of course, losing your ass. So that's my contractor math.
What about assuming because you lost a job that the other guy must have underbidded the job for them to get it?
Right.
That might be
that's contractor math. Yep.
What about pricing a job when the customer objects to your price, lowering the price because they objected?
Right. Or here's another one. I just thought of this. So early in the season, right? Slitting your own throat, like cutting your prices below what you can do the job for, right? To get cash in. And then when you're busy, doing the complete opposite, jacking your prices up, like basically like putting it all on black. And then instead of just getting jobs getting a lot of jobs for the next season, right? For the spring at a higher margin, getting none of those jobs because they're priced too high. That's contractor math.
Lots of contractor math there. I like it. We should do that. We should do that often.
Maybe we'll do contractor math again next week. I'm sure you and I can think of like hundreds more.
We're gonna have to go all out though and like start doing the drawings and everything. I'm so doing that next week.
I think it's a great idea.
I literally just pulled up one that I was like, oh, that's gonna be
good. Okay, I've got one more thing for us. So one of the things that where is it at? One of the things that I wanted to also do is, because one of the things we talk a lot about, Jay, on here is where's it at? Is we talk a lot about the importance of contractors being, oh man, it's doing it again. Hang on a second. The importance of contractors being on social media. And so if I can get this, I may not. Oh, let's see. Let's try that. There we go. Tell me if do we have it there?
No, same thing.
Damn it. All right. So, well, we'll save that for next week. Because what so what the hell? What is it do?
Is this maybe we could use one for, social influencer math?
Okay, wait.
It
Hold
comes
on.
prepared but can't turn it on.
Hold
Bring
on.
strong but can't
Oh
turn
wait,
it
I
on.
got it.
All right.
Third time's a charm.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. Good job, Adrian. Okay, so we've been talking about the importance of getting onto social media, and but it's like there's such a it feels hard, right? It feels like a lot of work, and it feels like it feels it just feels like pain, right? It's like you talk. I mean, if I talk to 9 guys right now and ask them scale of 1 to 10 how much they want to do posts for social media, everybody's going to be at below a 1. No one wants to do it.
Yeah, can you do a minus? I'd be like minus.
Minus 10, minus
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, a lot of folks have heard of Matt Reisinger. I mean, if you're a contractor, you've seen his stuff on YouTube, or or if you haven't, Matt's been he's probably the OG contractor on YouTube. I mean, he was on there in I want to say 13, 14. So he was very, very early. A couple things about Matt. He has a great building business, right? I think he's in Texas. He gets to be selective about who he works with. So he actually, one of the things he talks about is he chooses the architects that he works with. So he doesn't do projects he doesn't want to do, which is, as far as I'm concerned, that's part of the dream, right? Is being able to pick your projects. But here's the other thing, Jay, he, on his YouTube channel alone. So this is just from ads on YouTube, he makes over $250,000 a year.
Wow.
Right. Just from now, again, in fairness, because I can hear my buddies chirping at me being well, yeah, but he's been on there for 10 years. Yes, he has. Right. But we have this thing where, we've actually talked about this, you and me, before, called recency bias, which is a really fancy way of saying we forget, we look at where things are right now and we can't imagine how things are going to be in the future. And so, we go, well, I mean, everybody's on TikTok, right? Everyone's on Facebook, everyone's on Instagram. No one's going to watch my stuff, and it's going to cost a lot. It's going to take a lot of time. I don't know what to say. And those are all completely legitimate. But look at Matt's channel here. He's got multiple, I mean, this is not, so let's play one that has we'll do the 1 million views. We'll do one that's got 20K views. Here's one. Okay. Modern
Check this out,
architecture.
y'all. Looks like a spaceship has landed here in San Antonio. I'm visiting Andrew, the founder of gpodamericas.com, and this is his first big project. This is still a bit of a prototype stage, but what you're looking at here.
So, okay, there's him and a phone, right? This is not fancy, right? I mean, he's just, if we could play the whole thing. I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but
a modular building that could be built off-site and dropped in.
So Matt's just talking about what he knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna stop the share. He's only talking about what he knows. And I think that's, again, we discount, because it's how we spend all of our time, we don't realize that that's people actually want to, they care about that. And, people, if you look at the stuff that, if you look at social media videos, reels that perform the best, it's the ones I mean, I've posted stuff that my men did, just power washing limestone coping, right? And I did one that was 4,000 views, and it just had some text on the screen. Very simple, right? So we don't have to, like, it's like you don't have to produce or create some crazy stuff. I mean, again, this guy is like the OG. He's like the original contractor that blew up on YouTube. And, I mean, now granted, if you look at his videos, sure, there's stuff that's got produced and I'm sure he has a team and all that. But if you watch a lot of his stuff, it's him with a smartphone, just walking around talking about what's happening, right? It's not, there's no genius here, right? He's just integrated into his day. So I think that's, I think we'll do, I want to talk about not just Matt, but there's a lot of other guys and women doing this. There's someone on Instagram, I think she calls herself the Tile Chick. Again, she's just I mean, does it take her more time? Does she have to put it into her schedule? Yes, absolutely. But so is anything else that we do, right? Mm-hmm. Anything we're doing in our business is going to require energy and effort. So I think we'll do more with this and like feature different, contractors, builders, whatever, home services folks that have interesting accounts, so that, again, like, the folks that are watching us here can kind of see like what other people are doing and doing it well. And again, these are not, these aren't actors. Like,
right.
People like you and me.
We're actors. Here's my 2 cents on this. Okay. So I think a lot of contractors really like, it's just another thing that they have to do. Right.
Right.
And we're so busy. We have so many things going on, like adding another thing is just not in the cards. Right. I think if we understood a little bit, and this really ties into what we're going to discuss today, but if we understood really kind of what the value of explaining who you work with and who you don't work with, and making those things kind of public, gives you an advantage. I mean, again, at the end of the day, you always want to be thinking like, what differentiates me from the next guy? Like, can a customer come and see, who I am in my brand? And I think a lot of times, what guys get caught up in is hiding behind the brand that they've built for their company or creating an image that's not personally theirs. So, I mean, for me, where my mindset shift kind of, came into this was, really realizing the power of, being a human on the internet. Like, let's be honest here, right? If you wanted to attract your perfect client, just being you and sharing some of the experiences that you have, again, the things that, upset you, or, the kind of clients that you work best with, sharing their story is going to paint the picture of, these are the people that I work best with, right? Simple as that. And what do you think that's going to attract? More of the people that you work best with, because they, the reality is that they're there. Everyone is using social media to a very high level these days, right? So if I was, to go back and I'm sorry, I'm going to show my age a little bit here, but like social media wasn't a part of marketing, even 5 years ago, really. Like it was starting to become a thing, but nowadays the noise is getting louder, in terms of the, what I should be focusing on as a contractor and what I shouldn't be. So I would, strongly urge anybody that's listening in to, if you really want to start to attract your ideal client, get good behind a camera, because at the end of the day, there's no faster, easier way to working with your dream clients, where, getting leads at a reasonable rate and, really making it a lifestyle business than, jumping on social media. And I get, Adrian, you know this about me. I hate shooting videos. I hate shooting content. I like it. I'm the guy in the back that just wants to, fix things and, get things done. And that comes from being a contractor, right? Like, again, even dealing with clients, like I have to a lot of times put that hat on for myself. And if I had to go back in time and kind of figure out a better method to getting to where I am, I would 100%, take on the social media sooner, because it was just such a better way to just say, hey, here's who we are. Here's our personality. Like, again, because people are consuming it, right? Like, we know now, we can watch the traffic, and, they're going from Google to, these social media sites, and they're looking at what you guys like, what the company is. And people are researching that way, right? So what you put out there, and again, it comes back to our conversation we're going to have today, is like, a lot of guys are, in general, they don't know who their perfect customer is. That's the first problem.
Right.
They're trying to
Right.
work for everybody, and that's creating a lot of tension and problems and variables. And that's one thing that we've talked a lot about over the last few weeks. But tying that into, okay, great. Let's just assume that we know who we want to work with. All right. Well, I mean, ads don't give you a real advantage in trying to, speak to that person directly through the internet, right? Now you can do videos, you can do all types of things, but like, to be honest with you, again, you're not giving yourself the advantage of, connecting with someone human to human if you're not producing this kind of content to really, hone in on that ideal customer.
Yeah, I think, again, it's I genuinely empathize because just like 1 year ago, if you remember, you and I were talking about this, like I was trying to figure out like how do we, I know we need to do this, right? Because I wanted to run social media ads because I knew that was a way to expand our reach and get more leads and all that good stuff. Because I was so sick of like, having to lean so heavily on relationships and our direct mail, marketing campaigns. And so, it was, and even though even though at the time for like recreationally, I was posting stuff like on my Facebook profile and things like that. And actually did a fair amount. I did not know what to do. Like as
Right.
a businessman CEO, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, where to start. I had some ideas, and I was kind of following like Barstool Sports and getting ideas from them. But as far as putting together a plan, it was, it was, it was so overwhelming, and so I don't, so I say these things, and I point out like Matt Reisinger's channel, and like I said, we'll put out others, we'll feature others in coming weeks. To help men and women see like it's actually, this is really easy, like once you kind of like get your arms around it. And to your point, Jay, like, so if because there are folks out there right now that like there's folks that don't know, like that actually don't or aren't clear on who their dream buyer is, but there's a lot of folks that are, right? And and so we're going to spend some more time on that. But like when you do know, like when you are clear who your dream buyer, like who your target customer is, your dream buyer, your avatar, whatever you want to call it, like when buddy, like you can
Life's much
speak
easier.
to that. Yeah.
Yep.
And you can speak to that audience, and you don't have to, again, you don't have to get on the camera and talk to the camera like you and I are doing right now. You can have one of your people right in the office. You have your admin grab a phone and ask you questions, right? I was telling a good friend of mine that has a commercial furniture business, one of my best friends, actually. We were talking one night, and he's like, I just don't know what to do. I was like, dude, you've got these young guys, right? Like get one of these young guys that when you're not on a job, like not doing an installation, or when he's got a minute, you go to the installation and give him a list of questions to ask you behind the camera. That's it. And you just answer them. You don't have to look at the camera. Just answer them like you would if he was asking you to try to understand, or if a customer was asking you, don't even look at the camera, right? And that will find like that content. These social media platforms are so like, if people understood how like attuned these friggin' things are, like those words you say, the technology will read those words and will send your video out to people that want commercial furniture in his case. Right. So, anyway, we're going to, so I'm going to get off my soapbox. But I think that, but we're going to spend more time on this because it is important. And it's something that, here's what's going to happen, Jay. Like a few people that are, that check us out or in the, in our group, like they're going to do it. And they're going to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Right. Because you're going to because you think like, I think again, we're so like, we look at maybe, and I do this myself. You look at stuff and you're like, well, that didn't go, everything's measured against, is it viral? Dude,
No,
you don't have to go viral.
you don't even want to. It can be damaging,
Right.
actually.
Well, that's another good point. But like,
Right.
here's the thing: like, if you for your company gets 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000, which by the way is not that hard to do. I do it all the time, and I'm not even good at this. Right?
Yep.
Like, you can that's 1,000 people that are seeing your thing that are potential customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's ways, we're not going to get into right now, but there's ways to target your region by using location, all that sort of stuff.
Here's another, again, when we're talking about this, so let's use social media let's think a little bit differently about it. Okay. So one of the things that I do often in our salespeople, I'd like them to do more often, if you guys are listening in, salespeople, is when a customer asks you a question, okay, we can respond with our words, or we can send them a quick email with content that explains that problem, where now you're driving them to your social media and showing them, demonstrating your authority, right? So I think that a lot of guys miss that clear opportunity. And again, I know my ideal avatars, okay, and the clients I do best business with, guess what? They're on social media. Would I not want them to see this channel that I've put all this content in and all this work? But if I'm just sending them there to, look at me, well, that provides zero value, right? And people don't, again, for contractors, they make that common mistake. Your content should be, a tip, a trick, a commonly answered question, like all of these things. And then they become tools. So I wanted you to think about it a little bit differently. What if, let's just put it out there, you got over your fear of shooting a video, okay, and you just answered the top 10 commonly answered questions that you are so sick of answering over and over again, and then had people go to that spot, right? First of all, it's going to help you come up in the algorithm. You're going to have organic traffic going there. And then again, coming back to my point of how we use this as a tool versus looking at it as another thing to do, right? Do you know how much time I've saved by just sending someone a video? Here you go. Where are they going to go and watch that? Oh, on my thing. And what are they going to watch? Oh, all the other things, which just validated me and put me in an authority position, right? So again, it's really about how you're looking at these things, because I'll tell you, if you are using these to your advantage, all right, even for follow-up, another great example for you guys out there that are struggling to land jobs. I see it all the time. First of all, if you think for 1 second that you can not follow up with somebody, all right, and have a business that's going to grow and thrive, you are absolutely out of your tree, and you should just stop now. I'm going to share a story with you really quick, and this is what I mean about knowing your client, knowing your thing. So I had a call with a longtime student of mine, and he's not the best listener. Okay, I've had a lot of difficulty with him doing things and then falling off, doing things and falling off. So we had a real short conversation, and he came to me with the same old problem. Hey, you know what? I don't got any. You know, I ran out. My pipeline ran dry. What do I do? What do I do? And finally, I just, sometimes as a coach, you have to give some hard love. And I gave him 3 things to do. 3 simple things. The call was 20 minutes. I cut it short. I'm like, listen, I've heard all this stuff before. Here's what you're going to do. I'm like, 1, you're going to go back in your pipeline and you're going to follow up with every single person in a human way. We're not going to send the automated emails that everybody's seen. Like, that's not going to break the noise. No, you're going to actually go back, look at what you offered. All right. And here's how I would do it. I'm going to send them something that validates that content. So for example, he happens to be another roofer. We did this with him. We had him shoot value driven videos on his channel, so that if he was, following up with somebody, he could send them there. So again, just simple stuff, guys. Go back to your pipeline. All of your customers should be there. If their concern or their objections or they're getting a certain type of product, for him, it was, a customer hadn't made the decision yet. They were thinking about, a couple of different roofers, and they weren't quite ready to go ahead yet. So he has a video that we shot with him about the importance of having their roof installed before winter, right? And the wear and tear of winter, and if they can do it. He just sent them the video. Hey, I shot this a little while ago. I just wanted you to, see it, because I know your concern was whether you do it now. Immediately created urgency, signs the job. Okay. So, I
Boom.
mean, again, I'm using a perfect example. And this was last
Yeah.
week, guys, of how you use this stuff
wow.
as tools.
Yeah.
Last week, I've got the text message right here. No word of a lie.
That's awesome.
I mean, again, like no bullshit here. Like,
That's
again,
awesome, man.
you know, so and these are the kind of conversations I have regularly, like regularly, guys, where it's just so it's right in front of you to take advantage of, but we get caught up on the day-to-day stuff so bad and not understanding that our clients are still unclear or unsure. People that are unclear and unsure don't buy. Right. So how many
Right.
of you guys are constantly creating new leads, creating, you know, running out and giving quotes to, you know, new people? Right. Look at this. Like no bullshit. This was the text conversation I had this
There
week.
it is. Yeah.
Right. Hey,
That's
did you do it
awesome.
yet? I'm pushing them. No, not yet. Going to work in the morning after the kids are into school. I bugged them again. Just landed 2 jobs, collecting the deposits the afternoon. There you go. Right. And using the social media
Yeah,
to
it's
go back
awesome.
and take a human to human approach. Okay. So again, I also know something about his client being in the same very industry is that nobody wants, you know, again, you send out follow-ups, but if you're not doing them with sincere, you know, intention,
Yeah.
all right,
Right.
people are
Yeah.
going to slip through the thing. Why is that any different than anybody else? Now, again, for you guys out there that don't have time to do follow-ups, anything's better than nothing, really. But you
Right.
want to really think about, like, what kind of messaging are you putting out to the world? Do you have a way to explain or deal with an objection that you might be getting from a text? Because again, that's not human to human texting, although you can, you know, draw on some emotions. But when they get to see your face and you get to create the authority, you get to be the authority by using your social media. That's a part of understanding your client, right? That's a part of understanding, you know, how human interaction works. Does that make
Well,
sense?
and I think it makes a lot of sense, Jay. And I was going to say that, you know, you said something and it made me think, like, so, you know, it's easier to follow up when we like our customers.
Absolutely.
And part of the problem, I think, you know, like part of the problem I think for some folks is like they have this call reluctance, we used to call it, you know, like early
Perfect.
2000s,
They don't like the rejection.
right? Yeah, well, because and part of the problem is that
They don't know the
you know,
customer.
they don't know that, and it's a relationship that's got a lot of friction because they probably shouldn't be doing the work with that person, right? Because you know what I
nailed
mean?
it right there. You nailed it right there. So again, and we've been preaching this for the last couple of weeks. So if you guys for out there are listening, you know, if you're just catching this one, what most companies fail to understand, right? And they fail it, you know, almost consistently across the board. Very few people have come to me and really understood this principle, but you attract what you put out. Okay.
That's right.
So if again, you are thinking price and you are, you know, looking like you know, the cheaper guy, if you're like, if those are the things that are in your mind, I lost that job because of XYZ. Like I lost that job because this guy must have been cheaper. If you're saying those things, the universe is going to give you that back. All right.
Yeah.
Now, and I know it sounds counterintuitive. The same thing with, you know, understanding what does your customer value? Okay. What is their, like, again, assuming that it's just price is stupid. There's about 20 other things that could be, you know, higher on the list that if you just touched on them, or if you explained them and brought clarity and took away the pain or the concern or any of the issues, you're going to close a hell of a lot more people, all right, with less effort. Like, think about what I'm saying here, right? More people, less effort. That doesn't seem like an easy thing, but it comes first of all with truly listening and understanding that customer. And until you do, and until you decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to not work with X's and O's, I'm only going to work with B's and C's, right? Like until you decide, and again, only then can you start to produce, you know, the messaging, the content, the, you know, really understand those pain points. And here's the funny thing about it. At one point or another, you're gonna stand back and go, "There's no way it could be this easy." There's no way. I've had that come to God moment multiple, and it's the aha moment. It's like, are you telling? Like, this is boring. Like, it's so easy, it's boring. You know, and I mean that sincerely. Like we're in
Yeah.
the same. We sell to the exact same person, day in, day out. Like same problem, same objections. Like I could work through those objections with in my sleep. I probably do. All right. And again, why would I want that? Right. Like, for a lot of guys that are out there, like, you're jumping all over the place, but you never really truly understand the first problems that you solve, or you're maybe not even in the right business. Who knows? Right. But at the end of the day, again, if you want to truly thrive in contracting, and again, don't you want to align your marketing, you want to align your sales, you want to do all these things that I'm talking about, you want to sell millions of dollars worth of work at a profitable rate. Learn this first. The first step to that happening is, first of all, commitment to the client you're going to serve. And you notice I said client, right? There's a million different ones that you can serve, but you've got to narrow down and niche down to who do you interact best with, who is
Right.
predictable for you. Okay. Now, I'm not saying down the road you can't add someone to it, but if you can't get one right, don't bother trying to add a bunch more. Okay.
Right.
It's not worth it. And nowadays, again, this is where social media really does help you to, call these things out. Like if I wanted to say, hey, you know what, I'm only going to deal with bald men. Like, don't come to my company unless you're bald. I'm not selling you no fucking roofs unless you're bald, right? If I put that out on social media right now, do you want to bet that I would probably start landing only bald dudes, right? Like, and if I was willing to stand by that and I became the bald dude roofing company, okay, I could find myself a really nice niche.
Yeah.
All right. So like
Yeah.
if we thought about things a little bit clearer that way, all right. Now again, I'm not what I want to make myself really, what's a really important, point to make here is, listen, if you're struggling right now, and this is more for the guys that are just starting and that are just kind of getting into their,
Yeah.
feeling out business, the best thing you can do is doing exactly what I said. Find it. When I say niche, what I mean is somebody that you can consistently doing business with. So if there's one, there's many. Okay. And
Right.
it's about the variables that you're going to add to your life. But you're already learning. You have business, you have social media, you have all these things that we can talk. And what does that lead to? Massive overwhelm. If you start adding a whole variety of customers in on top of that, and the stress of all that, you're not going to, you're going to have years of torment and pain. Okay.
Right.
Now, for guys that are a little bit bigger, I'm going to say over that 7-figure mark that still hasn't really locked in their marketing. Okay. Because the way I experienced it was, first I had scrambled to do work for everybody, right? And just felt
Right.
like I don't know what that is, right? I didn't know who it was. Okay. Once I committed to, hey, I'm only going to do this type of work. All right. And really focused on finding, residential homeowners or insurance jobs. Okay, great. That gave me enough, momentum to get over those, those long periods of struggle. Okay.
Right.
But it still never had consistency. The consistency part eluded me for years and years. And it was like, it wasn't that I wasn't spending enough on marketing. I was spending way too much, way over budget on marketing. I was grasping at straws, and it's really came down to, the messaging, the understanding of the customer needs, like paying attention to, like, how do we convert somebody? What are the exact words we say, and this applies to social media as well. Like, somebody told me once, and this wasn't my words, but like, you almost have to know that customer better than they know themselves to take yourself from a 7-figure, $1 million to that $5 million mark. If you aren't a student of that client, and again, this is where, as you start to grow and over that $1 million, where you really want to start to focus in, is because your marketing now has to be consistent. You have to be able to call the client that you're going to bring in through the door every day, because now you're going to add sales teams. It's going to go beyond you.
Yeah.
And the second that happens, okay, that's where we see a lot of companies, and that's usually who comes to us. All right, that they lose their way because the customer they served before wanted their attention a lot. Right now, we're looking for a customer that we can sell to consistently, market to consistently. And what you may well find out is that avatar is going to change. Right.
Well, yeah. I was going to say, Jay, that so I'll give an example of this. So, when I was hired to the masonry business, we had, I mean, the estimator inbox was just an absolute just dumpster fire of job leads. And I mean, it was stupid. And and we were doing, we'd have one big job that was like a commercial kind of like maintenance, like repair job where we're tuck pointing, caulking, doing some brick replacement, et cetera. And then we'd have like we had another really ornate job that was like this terracotta home and like what they call Millionaires Row in Pittsburgh. And then, and then we'd have these like jobs where we had these different, where half of the work was masonry and then half of it was like, some sheeting or some crazy shit, it's like, what are we doing? And, shocker, the jobs where we had the scopes of work that were outside of what we did, right, did not perform well. And, and so one of the best things that ever happened to me was learning that the hard way and bidding jobs that we shouldn't have bid, and losing a lot of money on those because pain is a great way to learn. And I learned, and so what I learned was, so we went from doing just any masonry repair to focusing more on historical and commercial, like maintenance type work. And then getting even more specific and deciding we're not going to do public jobs. We're not going to bid the public calendar because it's low bid, and we just, it's a lot of time, and we're not going to be the low bid, right?
Right.
So we just cut that out altogether. And so in my last 4 years in the business, I focused entirely on historical, commercial, and like private. And so like I knew exactly what jobs I wanted to bid and what jobs I didn't want to bid. And so I spent far less time on bidding crap. Like I didn't bid any crap. I mean, there's a few stinkers are going to sneak in there, but like I bid mostly jobs that were like squarely in our wheelhouse.
Right.
And that was getting clear on that, that was exactly like, that was our customer. Like that was our customer, dream job, dream buyer. I mean, that was the game,
Right.
And I mean, I had to like literally coach the owner. He'd call me. I mean, he stopped after a while, he learned, but like, he'd be like, well, I got this call from so-and-so. And I'd be like, dude, no.
Yep.
Like, but why would we bid that? Like, we know we've been down this road before. Well, it's public. We're going to get our dicks kicked in the dirt.
Right.
And we're most likely we're going to waste a bunch of time. Then you're going to want to cut the price because,
Right.
the person or whatever. And then we're not going to make any fucking money on it. So what are we doing? Right.
Right.
So, so like we're talking about niching down, like that was, I mean, I got to see in real time, and I had never had that experience before, like that, where like it was like we had this wide, like we were like Ellis Island in the early 1900s, bring your tired, bring your poor, we'll bid
Right.
the work.
Right.
And man, I mean, like it was insane. And again, it just so much pain. I was like, literally, we're going to go out of business if we keep bidding this fucking work.
But
right?
here's the thing. So in commercial, which again, it's one of my favorite places to compete. You've got predators and you got prey. All right. There is no in between. So
Right.
the guys that are disorganized and the guys that don't get that part and the ones that keep coming back, like, do you not think that the predators know that they're losing money? Of course they are. There are contractors out there that feed on these guys. And maybe you felt that, like, but it's not an accident you didn't make money on the job. They knew well in advance because they have all the other tenders. They've done these jobs. So they laugh at you, right? When you come in low. And again, it's coming in and understanding, like, how do I, like, sitting here, know that we have predator contractors out there? How do I know that? Right? Do you think it's maybe because I've been prey before? Absolutely.
Because you were the prey.
Right. But I'll give you another example of how, how this works out, right? When you learn either from pain, right? So I'll give you a good example. Churches. Okay. I've bidded a ton of churches. We've done a ton of church work. I am so good at understanding the dynamics of a church board and if they're serious or not serious.
Right.
So the classic move in a church project is they're going to invite you to Sunday mass. Okay. I immediately say no. All right. Now I have a sales rep right now that, God bless him. I let him experience this because it's funny. Honestly, I told him first, I'm like, you're not going to get this job. I'm like, I promise you won't get it. He's like, no,
Right.
no, but they invited me to Sunday mass. I'm like, you're not going to get it. I'm like, but I'd like you to go anyways. So go ahead. So he goes and spends his whole Sunday and does mass. And sure enough, they bring him in front of the board to do what? Inspect the roof. Ah, perfect. Well, it's a brand new roof. All right. Another red flag going up. Why is the brand new roof leaking so much? Why are you having all these problems? Oh, we just need someone to look at it. You know, we're getting that. We want a quote on a brand new steel roof. By the way, do you guys provide financing? Not another red flag, right? So he brings all this back pretty excited. And I'm like, yep, you're not going to get this job. I'm like, in fact, you just spent Sunday, you know, telling them what the issue is so that they can go back and leverage the other contract, because churches are
Right.
they've got a board, right? So usually
Right.
what they do is they send the most a sociable one out to find all these people. And what's the sociable one? He wants to make friends with everyone, right? He wants to
Right.
tell you good things and, oh, we're going to use you and all this other stuff. But I know damn well you've got one miserable treasurer that sits on that board and looks at the money only and then slaps everybody when they're about to do something stupid, right? And
That's
that
right.
treasurer usually is the one that's making the donation or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And not that I've been through it a million times, because I have, right? But
Right.
it's the way that you approach that customer now that's going to tell you, you know, if you should even be, you know, wasting your time on it or not. But I think
Right.
a lot of guys
That's
get
right.
caught up in this where they don't recognize that, hey, you know what? We're not just selling to one person here. We're selling to 8 people. And
Right.
this person that I'm meeting is not, he's basically the contact only. You're not
Right.
dealing with decision makers,
Nope.
right?
That's
So
right.
until you get and I told him, I'm like, until you were in front of the entire board where they specifically invited you to that meeting, all right, you're not getting the job.
Right.
Inviting you to mass, inviting you to do that, that's just to see how many hoops you'll jump through. Okay.
Right.
And you're being used for the price. No, blah, blah, blah. Sure enough. And I'm like, by the way, at the end of all of this, they clearly don't, like, there isn't money in the treasury to replace with a steel roof. That's wishful thinking. But
Right.
you won't even get the shingle repair on this job. I'm like, because they'll end up looking at our price and then they'll know that, hey, we're going to get our brother-in-law or the friend of
That's
the
right.
church and donation for this.
Parishioner.
And yeah,
Yeah.
we'll just get somebody to patch it up for us till we can figure it out. But
Yeah.
again, another example of, you know, knowing those avatars, knowing that experience. And again, if you're a smart contractor, you're going to position yourself and position your niche. Like if I wanted to deal with all churches, okay, and that's only business that I wanted to do, I would have a game plan. Well, I do have a game plan for that. Like I have a step-by-step process for it. In terms
Right.
of closing those kind of deals, right? And what to look for, what not to look for, what the dynamics are. Like I said, there's only one time when a church is strongly considering you, it requires a board of directors to actually vote on that. And it doesn't matter the size, it's the way that they're set up.
Right.
And again, just that information is so valuable to knowing if you're wasting your time or not. Because the last thing you want to do is run around, give a bunch of prices, get excited about it, you know, take a whole, like he's got 3-4 days built into this thing, multiple
Right.
kilometers. And I would have said no right from the very beginning. In fact, I did. I'm like, nope. Call me when you're ready to have a board meeting where we can meet and discuss our quote.
Right.
End, full stop. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Problem solved. If they want to meet with me, they're going to be in a board setting where they all got all the decision makers there, and they're going to vote on whether I get the job or not.
Right.
Right. I'm not going to play the game to get the background information for them so that somebody else is basically going to go and, you know, they're still going to hire
Right.
the other guy. Right. Like
Right.
anyways. So again,
Yeah. No. I
another
mean,
example.
we did. You know, you and I could, like, we don't really talk about this, you know, offline, but like, we did a ton of churches, and you know, and after, like, you know, I mean, I remember one time this church had I don't know, it was like between 80 and 100 grand, and good job. We did a good job with the work. I don't think we made a lot of money, but they had to borrow. They had borrowed to do the job, and they couldn't pay us. And like we were literally I was literally calling the finance company with them, you know, like on the, I mean, you know, and so, you know, so again, you learn, and I learned, okay, well, I don't want to do this again. And, you know, and so like, that was one of the first things. So when I would go out to even if it was like, obviously like what's the word I'm looking for? You know, even if like it was likely that, like, we did a huge church here in Erie. We did like, it was like a multi-million-dollar multi-year thing. And I knew that they had, it's like the mother church, Catholic church, here in
Mhm.
here in Erie. And so I knew, like, they're going to have the cash, right? Because they've got like a gazillion super wealthy people that have,
Yep.
are either at the church or it's connected to the big private school here in town. So like they're gonna, they've got the cash for this. But even though I had high confidence, I still asked, like, how are you guys paying for the project? Like, are you raising the money? Like, because you got to ask,
You
right?
have to. Yep.
You have to ask. And they told me, he's like, well, we have X amount, and we get these donations from this trust every year. And it was like, and so I knew exactly how we were going to get paid.
So,
And we got paid.
Do you want to hear the ugly side of that? I've had a couple of experiences like that before, where they've come up a little short on their donation, or the person who's
Right.
supposed to donate suddenly is not donating anymore.
Yep.
And I found out the very hard way that putting a lien, all right, so putting a lien on the property is basically a waste of time. Why? Who are they selling it to?
Right.
So when you collect it, like, so to force
Right.
them, and you can't force them, you can't force a church because it's a non-profit organization. You can't foreclose on a church.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
the only thing is then to sue up to the archdiocese. And like, if you want to play that game, you are going to lose every single time. So that business is very dangerous business. And again, you
Right.
would think it's not like that, but there's a lot.
It's
Just
exactly
go
like
and
that.
Google it, and you're
It's
going to find out
exactly
that
like
again, they're not using their money when they're making these purchases, and they rely heavily on donation, even the biggest ones, right? And behind that, again, you can have a bad board, just like anything else. And basically it's 8 bad customers instead of just 1 bad customer.
Right.
And if you don't know these things, you walk into it like, a deer in headlights. And next thing you know, you know what? We're going to make this a charitable donation for the 4th or 5th time. You don't want to play that game. So again, in commercial, guys, like, for you guys that are listening out there right now, I would be looking very carefully. So you want to talk about knowing your customer well, okay? In our business, we've slowed way down on you working for contractors, okay? And I mean general contractors. Everyone is being crunched through the credits. We're checking credit. We're doing, Equifax reports. We're making sure that we're checking them out. You know why?
Yeah.
What happens in a recession? Like, for you guys out there that might be builders, you already know what I'm saying, right? Like, some of your clients, and I know where it comes from. Some of these clients that got hit with these interest rates, well, they haven't even got their mortgages through yet, and they're already, they don't have the money for it. Maybe they were investors and stuff. So again, for my builders and contractors out there, like, you be checking your customers' credibility and all that stuff as well. But for me, as a single trade, when I come in now, I'm looking very carefully at that contractor. They're going, you know what? If this fails, I'm coming for you. I can't go for your customer, right? Actually, I'm coming for everybody. But a good contractor has the money. Like, no, I'm suing your mother. Like, I don't care. Like, she's responsible for you being on this planet. It's her fault too. Right. So
yeah, she's liable.
Well, exactly. So again, it's not a pleasant situation. And luckily we've been able to, keep between the lines. But for you guys out there, be very, very careful of who you're going to get into business, especially, again, knowing your customer, back to understanding, your niche. If a contractor all of a sudden comes to you with a whole bunch of jobs this time of year, and they're going into this thing, be very, very careful, because that means in behind that, somebody's been screwed their regular. Why aren't they using their regular guy? Why would it be any different?
Right.
So again, I know these things because I've lived through and have the true scars to show for them. But I can make these shots now, from my gut. For a lot of guys out there that can't, again, this is the danger of venturing outside of those comfort zones and not mastering the first one. Like, again, if I looked at, how you structure a business first, start in the resident, take the least amount of risk. As a contractor, your job is to manage risk. All right. You've got to manage your risk on every project you're on. And again, your profits should be already in the job. Right. And it's about not losing money on jobs. Right. at the end of the
Well, I
day,
think,
you know,
yeah, I mean, I think, to your point, Jay, that's something, again, I think that's actually one of the biggest, one of the things that helped me from my earlier career in banking was like, I looked at GCs and anybody that, I mean, anybody who's going to hire us, even a company or a private owner, as like, I looked at them like a bank, like I
yep.
evaluated their credit, especially after like the first 2 years. And I mean, I would just, there were certain calls that came in, and I never even went on to I never even went
Yep.
to the job site. I was
Well, you
like,
could
nope,
just check that. Like again,
yeah,
and
nope,
I'm saying that now,
sorry,
right? For the contractors that are on here, you also need to think about that too, right? Like, for guys that are struggling with their business, like once that credit report and you have a couple of bad projects, like, again, that's the repercussions down the line, is that, vendors talk, suppliers talk, everybody's
right,
communicating.
right,
And if you're not in good shape financially, people know, right? And that's when you're going to see credit, and especially through this recession. So again, kind of talking back to, what do we do about this, right? Like, for single trade guys out there, know who you're doing business with. The easiest way, if you're doing a B2B sale, all right, pull that
business to business,
yeah. So you're working for a general, you're working for a builder, you're working for, so again, that's public information. Just go to Equifax, go to,
right,
TransUnion, you pull that credit report, you go through it, and it'll tell you like how many liens, how many lawsuits, how many
that's
things,
right,
right? Ask, go
Yeah.
into the public forums. Hey, has anybody worked with these guys? If you have not built a relationship with that person yet, don't blindly just take their jobs because you
Right.
think, oh, great, I got this big
right,
piece of work. No, I question it. And everything I look at, I've got my, in my company, they dread these conversations with me because I have to be and really think about, okay, what risk am I generating here?
right,
Right. And again, over time, you're going to realize, hey, you can call these things out pretty easily. Like the asking of the why, right? Like, wait a second, like, it's funny that these guys need this job done with no notice. They've got the roof
Right.
framed, bricked.
right,
What happened to the other roofer? Did they just forget? Like, no.
right.
You think contractors are just leaving it to, no. Let's be smart here. No, that they've got some liens there. And you're just, a good saying is, we never dive for a falling sword. Okay. And you're gonna see, if I could give anyone advice,
Yeah.
if it smells bad, and the credit will tell you, like, look, calling the suppliers, one of the best moves you can do. Go on to site. All right. If you're coming in, electrician, plumbers, whoever, okay, and it's a newer builder or somebody you haven't done work with, go on the site, just drive by, ask for their reference. Hey, how many sites are you working? I just want to, go check out your sites, for safety reasons or whatever excuse you want to give them. Go and take the supplier names down that you see that have delivered material to that site.
Yep.
Just call them up and they will tell you straight up, right? Is this a good credit client or a bad credit client? Because let me tell you, if they owe money and they haven't paid their bills, they're going to tell you, and you can call those references, right? So don't get caught. And again, like I said, if you know who you do business best with, right? And this goes for commercial, like we just given you examples from residential, commercial, Jesus, even churches. Okay.
Right.
And you
Right.
know that avatar of who you work best with. Okay. That's a formula. That you can rinse and repeat that, and you just improve it. You improve it and get it better, and consistently, improving that experience, figuring out, one thing they need to do. And it's much less stressful, as we get, as you start to really accumulate these guys, right? And that's how you build a 5, 6, 10, 20, $30 million company. Believe it or not, the difference between a 5 million and a $30 million company is exactly what I just said. They're
Yeah,
able
that's
to
right.
massively on demand create leads, create opportunity, okay, and close the exact person that they do business with, and it's rinse and repeat. There are so little variables. There is no real innovation or anything else that's going on, because that's not the way you make money. If you want to
Right.
be and again, the small innovation that comes about is actually huge. All right. But it's actually very little change to their formula, right? You don't break something that works. Make
Yeah.
sense?
Well, and I think too, again, Jay, like, and I'm just gonna like kind of just to put just to put a punctuation, or just to kind of point this out again, like when, like, knowing who my dream buyer, who's the person that I'm going to bring the most value to this relationship, and they're going to have the highest appreciation, and they're going to pay me, and they're going to pay me quickly, right? And they're going to enjoy and and use what I've done, right?
Mhm.
Like that's the person I want to do business with.
Mhm.
And so like, it's not, that's I think, I mean, I observed this with other people where, there's sort of, I think there's this, even with older people, older men and women, there's kind of this thing, like, I don't know, like people have this belief, like you've got to be like, they don't want to say no because
That's
it's
it.
like not,
That's
you
but
know what I mean?
we've talked about that too many times now to let that go. Saying no, all right, is going to do more for your profitability and your business, okay,
Right.
and your life, like literally your sanity. All right, learn to say no. Plan to say no more than yes. Okay, and again, if you can learn that one skill, that one thing, and guys, this is why we bring this up. This is why we're talking about Avatar. Like when I say Avatar, like it needs to fit. You can't fit a
Right.
round peg in a square hole. Okay,
Right.
but if you're going to try to, you're going to get bit every single time. And for a
Right.
lot of guys, they do it to themselves. They don't want to, use social media. They don't want to do the things that are actually going to bring them the clients that are the good fit. Instead, they play this, they play a scarcity game. They put themselves in scarcity, right? They put themselves in this position where, it's impossible to win. Right. And I know a lot of guys, I've been there. I've done it. I've made these mistakes, commercial,
Right.
residential, churches. Like there isn't a type of business that I haven't, taken on, and had to learn the hard way, and also won. But again, in doing that, you start to realize, like, hey, you know what, this could have been a lot easier if I just said no. And if here's two people out there that are like, here's two types of people out there: the ones that have to learn the hard way. I think I'm probably one of those.
Yeah. So am
Like, don't touch it, it's hot. Well, I'm going to touch it. Just let me touch it. Right. And then there's people that, can be told and are going to listen to what we're saying. I hope there's more of those people out there, at the moment that are just going to hear what we're saying. Pick a customer you can serve. Focus on that customer. Make sure you're bringing the value, and you will have a business that will sustain and start to grow again without you, because that goes into your company culture. It goes into everything. If you can tell your team who you do business with and they see it day in, day out, it becomes so much easier to grow and to scale and to have the business work without you.
Well, and again, so I think too, just, I mean, the last thing I'm going to say today, Jay, is that it's easier than, like, it's not hard to do, because like I genuinely didn't know. Like, I mean, I knew that the public jobs were hard, and, there's a certified payrolls and all the bullshit that goes with those stupid, I mean, I hate those things, but
Mhm.
before I hated them, we were winning them. And I didn't know that I should be saying no to those jobs, right?
Right.
And so what I did was, even though our P&Ls like looked like a fucking war zone, I went through job by job by job, and I, here's what I did was, I looked at like the 5 jobs that we had made the most money on, right?
Mhm.
And and they were, kind of varied. Like, one was like that kind of ornate, that house I was telling you about, this was like big terracotta mansion. We did really well on that. And then one was like a commercial job. It was a older commercial building. So it wasn't historical. It was just like an older commercial. So totally different, from a masonry standpoint, very different.
Mhm.
But again, and then I looked at what was like, what our biggest failures, like where we lost the most money. And so I just pulled them from our P&L, and I literally just made a list of like what worked and what didn't work.
Mhm.
And what I saw was that public and like distance, which I kind of took that. I was like, okay, so public is hard because it's complex, right? You've got all these different people that have to, like, to your point about like how the board is like 8 people, so you have 8 decision makers. Public jobs are the same thing, right? You've got an architect, you got the owner, then you've got like 3 other people that are like in the general contractor, in the general contractor's office, and you can't get a fucking answer. So like, so I realized, like, okay, public is complex,
Mhm.
right? and we need simple.
Right.
And so I just looked at the stuff that we did the best and looked at the stuff where we got killed. And it was like, oh, okay, there's a theme here.
Very clear, right?
And anybody, and so I'm not a genius, right? I don't have I'm not any more intelligent than anybody else. Like, I just saw there was a clear pattern, and I was like, okay, from now on, like, no more. Here's our blacklist, right?
Right.
We will not bid these jobs, like, no. And I mean, I actually put people on it because they'd really, had some people that did prey on us, but it was basically like a customer type, job type. I built a blacklist, and it was like, it was a hard no every single time, right? Every time. And it made it easier, right? It made it a lot easier for me, for the team, for everybody. So, I mean, it's that easy, right? You'd go, well, what do I do next? That's what you do. If you don't, if you're unclear, you're like, I don't really know that's it. Like, look at your P&L run, pick the 5 or 10 most profitable jobs, the 5 or 10 that cost you the most, have the most pain. Look at the commonalities, and like the stuff, there's going to be a theme at the bottom of the list, and that's what you run away from and you run towards at the top of the list.
Yep.
You
nailed it.
So
that's actually a part of our program here at Contractor AI. Is one of the first things we do is, getting you to define your customer. And one of the ways that we get you to define that customer is, financially, right? We want to make sure that, hey, you know what, are these customers you're describing, are they your most profitable jobs? If they're not, that's not your customer.
Right.
So
yeah, man. So, all right. Well, what a good session today. This is the first time we're blasting these out. So I've got a couple of channels we're blasting out to. So anybody who's on those channels, welcome to our live stream today. So Jay and I do this every Friday. We are live right now. This isn't pre-recorded. We are actually talking to you at 4:15 in the afternoon Eastern time. And the reason that we spend an hour or so, hour and a half of our day every Friday, is that, one, we're both very passionate about serving contractors, helping contractors to level up, improve their businesses, scale. Essentially, both of us have had the experience of, taking a business from like pain and losses to fairly substantial success. Jay still owns and operates his roofing business in Greater Toronto. We have a lot of really great solutions that we've used, Jay still uses, and that we're working with contractors right now to help them with their businesses. So we're here every Friday at 3:00 Eastern, and we're live on these various channels, YouTube and a few other places, Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. Also, every Thursday, Jay does free training at 3:00. So if you're wherever you're watching this, if you're interested in that, drop a comment. If you're in our community, drop a comment. If you want to get in our community, drop a comment. We'll drop a link for you to join. It's very easy. It's free. And there's lots more stuff in our community for community members. And then finally, I go live every Monday in both in the community and out to these various channels as well, essentially sharing my playbook for how I turned a masonry restoration business around. We were, essentially the business wasn't worth anything. It was probably, would have been a bankruptcy. They probably would have owed $500,000, $600,000, $800,000. And when I left, the business was valued at almost $5 million. So, so I share, no gatekeeping, as they say, no holds barred, shared. I share my playbook for that, and we're here to serve. So thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you next week.